Edition of NASCAR DFS preview with the Sports Chief. I'm AustYn, your host, and we're coming at you for the FireKeepers Casino 400 DFS preview. Seems like we get a lot of casino sponsored races, which is interesting. So we're at Michigan International Speedway, as I mentioned, and it's a 2-mile oval. The closest track you can compare it to on the circuit is probably Auto Club out in Fontana. Other than that, it's really wide. You can get 4 and 5 wide pretty much. I'm not sure if they're putting the PJ1 down for the race today. We'll see. We actually have a double header, so we have one today and then tomorrow as well. So I'll try to get a video out tonight for the video for the next race. But of course, we won't know the starting positions until the race ends today. I'm pretty sure they're inverting it like they always have been, the 20-1, and then so on and so forth. To give you a little bit of a synopsis of the way Michigan is, the track, I believe they're getting 6 sets of tires. It does have decent banking. I didn't get the exact numbers, but it's a high-speed track, but with the new aero package that they installed last season, we don't get to see those. So I think they're bringing a really high grip tire. From what I could tell on the Goodyear tire notes, it looks like they're using the same tire model as Texas, Kentucky, and Vegas. The same right sides as Kansas. Of course, the left sides will be different. One thing that you'll note about this track, if you look at those notes, the PSI is like 50 on the rights and 20 on the left, so that's a pretty big difference. It seemed like I remember when Martin Truex, he took the wrong sides of the tires. Remember that? I don't know if anybody remembers that, but it's a pretty big deal. So anyway, Ford has dominated here as of late. They've won the last 4 starts at Michigan. Pretty much Penske dominates, but also Kevin Harvick has been dominant here, and Kevin Harvick starting in 3rd today. So look out for that. So let's just go ahead and see. It's going to be a little different. I did a little bit of research for sure, but let's just see how DraftKings, how they gave us their salaries. Let's just check it out. Very upset, by the way, how last week's performance for us went. We had Christopher Bell, who was a top 5 possibly car, top 10 for sure, and Kyle Busch wrecked like right when the race started. So from the get-go, we were pretty much down. It was only in double-ups that we could really pull out of the hole there. So looking at what DraftKings has offered us, we have 5 drivers above 10K. So Kevin Harvick is at starting in 3rd. He's actually 3-1. I think he's the favorite to win today. At 11,000. Martin Truex Jr. starting in 12th at 10.8. Ryan Blaney starting in 11th at 10.6. Denny Hamlin starting in 2nd at 10.4. And rounding out our 10K guys is Brad Keselowski starting in 5th. Having trouble speaking this morning. All right. So looking at that, Ryan Blaney and Martin Truex have very attractive starting positions. And Ryan Blaney, I believe, is going to be one of the highly picked guys. I think Harvick will be as well. All of these drivers will be picked 20% plus. Brad Keselowski put on a strong showing in New Hampshire, and not many people picked him, so I'm going to be interested to see how that works with the ownership. We went with Christopher Bell. He's at 29th. I'm not going that route again. The only reason why I went with him was because he was so good at New Hampshire, and if you're actually watching the broadcast, they talked about how he was so good there, and it was pretty obvious. He was running that bottom line very well compared to other drivers. But anyway, also news, Levine Family Racing sold all of their equipment this week, so he's going to finish out the year with them and be in the 20 car next year, and Eric Jones will be without a ride until further notice, until he signs with someone. So that's interesting. The first thing, of course, I look at history and past performance. The driver that I like the most this week is probably the Hendrick Motorsports driver, Chase Elliott. So he's at 9,300. He's starting in 8th spot. And in the past videos, I've been talking about how I'm going off that average finish. If they're starting higher than that, I kind of went with that. That was when we were on a little bit of a losing skid and had a great week at Texas. Kind of drinking from that well, so to speak. His average finish is 7.6, so 8th. He's got 7 top 10s and 8 starts. Hasn't won here. He got 3 straight second-place finishes when he first started in the Cup Series. But I really like Chase Elliott, either in this one or tomorrow's event. So it's going to be pretty hard to gauge who's going to go off win. But I do like Chase Elliott in this spot. I think in 8th spot he'll finish higher than that. And he's really cheap, 9,300, and that's pretty good for arguably a top 5 driver in the series. So yeah, that leaves us with $8,100 to spend. And this leaves me with my second choice. So I'm going with Eric Jones. He's starting in 23rd. He's at 8,800. Reason being, he just lost his ride. He's going to be out for something. He's going to prove something, basically. I do think he is a Cup driver. I don't think that he should be relegated down to the Xfinity Series because he is a Cup driver. He's just really inconsistent. I think that comes with the fact that he's a young driver. And NASCAR, the landscape is changing so fast. And while it's always been corporate related, it's really tough on drivers like Eric Jones. He got that ride really quick. He may have even been called up a little early, but I do think he's a Cup driver. He's shown flashes. He's won a couple races. Again, I'm going with him for the simple fact that he's starting in 23rd position. And if you look at those past races, like Texas, Kentucky, and Vegas, I tried to do a little bit of average finishes on those to see how well he performed. And he had 2 top 10s. 1 top 5, I believe. 5th and a 6th. So I think Eric Jones is a top 12 shoe-in. And looking towards the bottom, there are a couple good options. So, and did I mention the fact that he's from Michigan? So that's one thing. He'll be racing. I don't know if they're allowing fans there or not, but either way, stopping at Corey LaJoie down here as I scroll. LaJoie and Ty Dillon are going to be very high options, but then you have Preece and Suarez right there, right around the same price points, and it's really tough to decide which one to go with. Ty Dillon, he actually is pretty decent here. His average finish is, 21st. That's about what type of car he is. So doing the math on that, that's about 13 spots. 20th is around 20 points or so. So you're looking at about in the mid-30s as far as total output, right? So I'm thinking in my head, okay, well, Corey LaJoie is probably a top 25 driver. You're looking at about the same output in the 30s. One guy that I really, really have grown to respect as far as his talent goes in the past weeks is Cole Custer. Now, hear me out. Cole Custer, I'm going with him at 6,700. He's in a Stewart-Haas Racing's machine. He has gotten 2 straight top 10s. His Xfinity average finish here is 8.7, which, take that with a grain of salt, I guess. But Cole Custer is definitely a top 15 driver right now. Probably a top 10. He is driving the wheels off that 41 machine. And I think that he is out for something to prove, and he's got the horsepower. I really like Cole Custer as my cheapest option. That's just going to give you a little preview of what I'm going with right now. I think Cole Custer arguably, I think he could be priced in the 8s right now. He's running that well. And as long as he's starting, in the 20s, he's automatic, especially at that price. But he's in 16th, and I weighed the options. If he gets 10th, it's still about the same output as like Ty Dillon and those guys. And Cole Custer could win. I don't see Ty Dillon or Corey LaJoie winning a race, or Preece or Suarez. I just don't see that happening. A lot of things would have to happen. And Cole Custer actually won one where he just flat out stole it. He was up there, he had been up there, and just went on the high lane and blew by everybody at Kentucky. So I like Cole Custer there. I think it's a great option. Anyway, again, going with what I think their average finish could be, so to speak. So I'm going to scroll up here, and I'm going to cut off at Stenhouse. For some reason, every week I see Stenhouse in the 30s, and I think I want to pull the trigger on it so bad, but then I have to realize that Ricky tends to wreck a lot. He ran pretty well last week at New Hampshire. He actually didn't run that well. It was just happenstance that he got up there. A lot of drivers had bad things happen. Him and Preece did all right at New Hampshire. This leads me to my next option. And you look at this here. John Hunter Nemechek was a guy that I really, really thought about going with. He's in that sweet Death Wish coffee machine in 31st, and he looked really good in the truck race. I actually did the truck lineup, had him in my lineup, was winning, and then dude got taken out. It was just a mess. So I had money, had Austin Hill, all these guys, and they all just bombed on me. So I think Nemechek is a top 22-ish driver right now, and that doesn't give me enough reason to pick him at that spot at 7,000. So I'm going to go with Austin Dillon at 7,500. Clint Boyer he won here a couple years ago. He's starting in 9th. Tyler Reddick's in 14th. I mean, he's probably a top 15 driver for sure. But I can't do it. So I'm going Austin Dillon in 18th. Austin Dillon's stats here, his average finish is 16th. There again, he's starting higher than where we've got him. Actually, all 4 of our guys, if you count Custer's Xfinity Series starts, we've got some positive value there. But Austin Dillon is a top 14 driver for sure. I love him to possibly get a top 10, squeak one out, and at 7,500, pull the trigger on Dillon. Now, that gives us 8,800, which is a pretty good amount. It's a pretty good chunk. So I'm going to cut it off here at Bowman at the 7,700 spot. Bowman is a great option. He actually won an Auto Club, which is similar to Michigan. The tires and things aren't really that similar. The banking's a little different. Michigan's more speed, although they've slowed him down so much that it's probably about the same. I'm not quite sure. But Matt Kenseth was an interesting option. They actually released Chad Johnston from Chip Ganassi Racing. Chad Johnston was there with Kyle Larson, and they were winning a decent amount, right? And now Matt Kenseth gets in there, and we saw how Matt Kenseth performed in that 6 car, and I'm pretty adamant about how I feel about Matt Kenseth right now in this Cup Series. Put Ryan Newman in there, and Ryan Newman turned that into a top 15 team. Matt Kenseth was just as bad as Trevor Bayne, and I think Trevor Bayne got shafted, and I'm still holding on to that. But anyway, Kenseth is just not he's just not a top-tier driver anymore. And to think that changing out the crew chief is going to help, I just don't understand that logic. Maybe it'll help. I'm not working there. I don't know what the heck's going on there. But, I mean, Matt Kenseth, he is very good here. His average finish is 11.3. That number's going to go down. He's going to finish around 20th. So don't bite the bait on Matt Kenseth. Just don't think that he's in that Joe Gibbs car anymore. Or Roush Fenway. Just don't think it. So, not going him. One driver I am going is William Byron. He's starting at 19th spot. I feel like I pick Willie B all the time. But William Byron's average finish here is 18.8, which gives us that 19th spot. And he's running okay right now. He's actually finished 2nd here in the Xfinity Series. I love William Byron at that stat. To me, I've got all these guys that could finish in the top 10. Pretty high chance they could. So, that gives me $9,500, and I think if you're looking at the screen right now, you see where I'm going. Eric Almirola is starting in 4th, right? He's at 9,100. Eric Almirola has been dominating, actually. He's one of the best drivers on the circuit. If Eric Almirola is starting in 7th and Kyle Busch was starting in 4th, I would have pulled the trigger on Eric Almirola, no doubt, and probably cut some fat somewhere else and got a little better driver somewhere else, right? But no, not doing that. I'm going with Kyle Busch. I'm going to bite the bullet again, and I'm going with Kyle. Kyle is actually just okay here. He's got 6 straight top 10s, actually, at Michigan, which makes his average finish rise up to 17.5, which is pretty low for Kyle's standards. But he's starting in 7th. Kyle can't be running this bad for this long, right? He's got to come across with a win. He's 10-1 according to CBSSports.com. Buy that all day. It's Kyle Busch, for crying out loud. The best driver in the Cup Series. Talent-wise, the best. And he's starting in 7th. Top 5 is very likely. Could get a win. And hey, 6 straight top 10s here at this track. I really like that stat. And he's my most expensive driver, but I feel like this gave me the best options. Now, I'm going to clear it out here, if you take note. I think what a lot of people are going to be thinking is they're going to go Harvick or Blaney. Blaney's been tearing it up, and Blaney's okay at Michigan. And I think people are going to go Chase Elliott. I think Chase is going to be very chalky. But people are going to bite that Ty Dillon bullet. They're going to go with Ty Dillon. They could even go with Corey LaJoie, and that gives you 9,400. I think Eric Jones is probably going to be a pretty popular option. That gives you 99, and I think Joey Logano is going to be pretty highly owned as well, starting on the poll. I think this week DraftKings did a very good job of keeping it spread out to where you couldn't stack so many people. I just think there's certain drivers that you're going to pick more than others. But here we're going with Kyle Busch starting in 7th, Chase Elliott starting in 8th, Eric Jones starting in 23rd at 8.8. Again, Chase Elliott's 93 and Kyle Busch is 95. William Byron at 82. We got 4 drivers above 8,000. Austin Dillon at 7,500, and that gives us Cole Custer starting in 16th. Now, if you cut that out and you keep these 4, it's interesting. You could do Ty Dillon, but DiBenedetto would be your best option. There's just a cutoff there at the 8s that it's not even worth going with those lower guys, and I think they'll be highly owned. I don't know that Cole Custer has gotten the respect that he really deserves yet. I think Cole is a top-notch driver. And by the way, William Byron is the only driver on this lineup here that hasn't won a Cup race, so I like it. Definitely a cash game strategy for sure, like in a double-up, but don't be afraid to throw this in a tournament because I think your drivers like Cole Custer are not going to be picked that heavily. I think Dillon might be okay. I think a lot of these guys are going to be in the 20s. Chase Elliott, look for him to be picked probably 30-some%. Eric Jones will probably be 30-some or higher as well, depending on what tournament you're in. All right, so that's what we're going with here, Sports Chief. Follow us on Twitter at @TheSportsChief. We've got all kinds of articles coming out. AEW, NASCAR, of course. We have post the YouTube videos. Doing a little bit of MLB DraftKings. So exciting things happening there. Subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Hit that bell notification that lets you know that our videos are going up. Comment about how you feel about the lineup. If you got any questions, I'll try to answer them as well. But yeah, looking forward to doing another video tonight. Having a big time race weekend. We got the Road America coming up here soon, and the Michigan race later on in the afternoon, and then Michigan tomorrow. So best of luck to you. Hope this helped you out a little bit making your DraftKings DFS lineup, and have a great race weekend, folks.